that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hi.
Hey, there you are.
Okay. I think the delay is gone now.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like it's gone third time lucky, huh?
Yeah, sure.
This is what always happens with these systems. It's either I need to try at least twice before I get the connection, but grateful you're on the other end. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I don't know. I was thinking because I went outside because inside home is like really loud. Those guys are never quiet. So I went outside and I thought maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Well, for now, I can't hear the guys on the other side, so fingers crossed they'll keep it down.
Sure.
So before we get too far, I'm recording an episode of The Feeling Station, so please do your best not to say your name, okay?
Okay.
If you do get to say your name, hopefully I should be able to clear that out in post-production, so don't stress about it too much.
Okay, no problem.
Now, for those listening to the podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with the view to give you, the listener, an experience that you could learn from. And so, without further ado, I need to give you your name, sir.
Okay.
And we have the pleasure of selecting a name from the beautiful country of Zimbabwe. Way!
Okay, sure.
And the name that I have for you is Ndabezinhle, which is a Ndebele name that means good news. How's that for a name?
Okay. No, it sounds nice. I don't speak Ndebele.
To make it easier for you, you can call yourself Nda, Nda.
Nda.
Yeah.
Okay, no, cool. My name is Nda.
That's right. And what name are you giving the girl that you're going to talk about today?
I hadn't really thought about it.
Well, now is the time to think and do it.
Okay, I think I'll go for Cleopatra.
Yeah.
I think I'll go for Cleo.
Okay, you're going to go for Cleo?
Yeah.
Why Cleo?
Yeah.
Is there any special attachment to Cleo, or that's just a name that just popped up?
Well, do you know the Frank Ocean song about the king ruling that his queen ran away from him, and he calls her Cleopatra?
Ooh.
Yeah, so I guess there's an element of that.
Very befitting name. Well, thank you very much, Nda.
I know.
So this episode is about Nda and Cleo.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get straight into the lessons. What would you like people listening to this episode to learn from your experience with Cleo?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's really important to let the things that happened in the past stay in the past, sort of. That's lesson number one, I guess.
Okay.
Sometimes you get too caught up in the past and you try to revive things, and you should let it go. I think lesson number two is learn. I don't know. Communication is really important, and yeah, I think that's lesson number two. And number three is value yourself, love yourself, don't settle.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting lesson for the last one that you've given, because whilst it's common on the podcast, it's not common coming from a guy. You know, that you need to love yourself. Yeah, so that's a very interesting dimension already, which we're going to tap into as the story unfolds. So, Mr. Nda, let's get into it. How did you and Cleo get together?
Okay, so I guess I should give a little bit of a background.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a country called, let's call it Wakanda.
Okay.
I come from Wakanda. Okay.
Yes.
So, but it's like a Wakanda in which it's the opposite. It's not really a highly developed country, right?
Okay.
So in Wakanda, I lived with my parents until I was 7.
Yeah.
Until my parents decided to leave Wakanda for a while so that they can pursue greener pastures.
Okay.
And I sort of lived in between houses, in between schools, in between cities.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really solid life until we moved. Until when I was 13, where my parents took me and they moved with me to Kuwait. They moved with me to the Middle East.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So the settling into like a different culture, into a different life was always really difficult, especially when you don't have similar people from Wakanda to
Yeah.
move to Kuwait.
Yeah.
And so it took a really long time for me to really get down and settled to even find friends, maybe years, in fact, until I met Cleopatra. Cleopatra was, I met her as a family. She was a family friend. So maybe it was her mom and her would come over the house maybe 2 or 3 times until like I finally grew the balls to say, hey, Cleopatra, what are you all about?
Okay.
Yeah, because I started to think about it. Like I probably had seen her many times beforehand, but had never talked to her.
And you'd seen her all these times whilst you were in Kuwait.
Yeah, I'd seen her all these times whilst I was in Kuwait. Now, Cleopatra is also from the same country. She's also from Wakanda.
Okay, good.
But she grew up in the UK. So we sort of have different upbringings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So me and Cleopatra sort of started because I guess we were two people with similar backgrounds who were just looking for similarities and a friend in this really foreign world.
Yeah.
And that's what I looked to her for. Like for a couple of years, a couple months when I first started to talk to her, I enjoyed the company. And I would always be in her Facebook DMs. I always be FaceTiming her. And she was a really fun friend. And it was amazing. It was like
so it sounded like you guys were vibing quite nicely right from the onset.
No, it was an amazing vibe. We had a lot of similarities despite our different upbringings. As personalities, I can say like we were pretty much the same compassionate type, the same feeling type. And we had similar interests. We were both music students. We were both interested in the arts. So at times we just spend hours just talking about arty-farty musical things, talking about homework and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was the typical kid type of love when we were kids.
Yeah. So how long did this kid type of love go for? Did you guys just feel infatuated with each other, had crushes on each other, then it ended, or this kind of progressed into your early adult life?
So what happened is sort of both. So I finished my IGCSEs, right? We finished our IGCSEs. And then I think the summer that I finished my IGCSEs, I just started to feel a different type of relationship with this girl.
Yeah.
And she felt it too. But, as kids, it was difficult for us to really explain it. It was difficult for us to really find the words to put forth our interests in each other. So I remember one day I was watching this movie called Angus Snog, and something about these young girls at a playground talking about snogging each other.
Yeah.
And then I asked her, what's a snog? And she said, it's a kiss.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, can you show me what that is? She was like, cool, come to my place.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's when I started to get the drops, the thirst traps, and it was kind of live.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So before I could come to her place, she left Kuwait for a while. She went on a summer vacation and she came back to Wakanda for a while.
Yeah.
And then when she came back to Kuwait, school started. A month went by and I didn't see her, and I was like, maybe that's over.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It looked like it was gonna go somewhere until like my mom's like, hey, I'm going to Cleopatra's mom's place. Do you want to come? I'm like, what?
Yeah, of course.
Of course they want to come.
Yeah.
And boy, did things go down there. I think like me and Cleopatra were in the kitchen whilst our moms were talking in the living room, and it was just
fireworks.
Fireworks. It was fireworks.
Weren't you guys scared of getting caught?
I think we should have been scared, but we weren't.
Hey, you guys were in that deep, huh?
Yeah, it was in deep.
Okay.
And so I think that's when the romantic relationship started. But I think as a kid in Kuwait, I was somebody who was quite awkward. I didn't know initially how to express myself.
Yeah.
So as I knew like I had to take it the next step forward, because I genuinely had feelings for this girl. She was a really close friend.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to sort of navigate the entire relationship sphere.
So given your age and lack of experience and how to move things forward, what was your brain telling you needs to happen next?
Well, my brain was telling me, right, Nda, you need to lock this down. But I had a lot of insecurities about who I was as a person in Kuwait.
What are some of those insecurities? Top 3.
So I had like well, first and foremost, I was like one of the only black kids within school. So I didn't really find myself like attractive or desirable.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2, I think the family situation back at home was a bit complicated. It was really complicated, especially with sort of my family being one of the first few to like leave the Wakanda.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stresses placed upon my parents and then evidently me.
Yeah.
So I was insecure about taking somebody and then bringing them into my life so that they can see like this is who I am.
I see.
Behind. Yeah.
Right.
I was really insecure about that. So one night I'm talking to Cleopatra and I can just feel the vibes. And I'm like, hey, Cleopatra, do you want to be my girlfriend? Then she's like, what? She makes a big deal about it. And sort of, I get sort of stunned by that. Because I'm like, whoa, this is a big deal, actually.
Yeah. Was it a big deal in a good way?
Well,
did she make it a big deal in a good way?
Yeah, she made it a big deal. She was excited, right?
Nice.
And I think I don't know what happened to me. I sort of felt the pressure to perform, to make it successful. And I doubted myself and I said, look, can I possibly do this?
Yeah.
That's when I retracted. I was like, nah, actually, no.
No, you didn't.
I'm going to take this back. I did. I did.
Okay. How did she react to you taking it back?
Well, I don't think she's the communicative type. She doesn't really, she's not combative is what I'm trying to say. So she just was like, okay. And yeah, then I guess she went to sleep and then that was the end of the conversation.
Oh, okay, so tell me something. How long was it between you saying to her, I want you to be my girlfriend and you taking it back? Was it hours? Was it days? Was it weeks?
No, it was probably like 10, 20 minutes.
What?
It was really like, Judah, I think it was a combination. I was just like, I was in my nerves as well as being a kid.
I'm visualizing this. I'm visualizing this and oh man, I couldn't help myself. Okay, all right. Okay, so 20 minutes you're out of it and then what happens next?
Oh, okay. So what happened next is, I don't know, like as a kid, I don't know why I didn't see this coming, but like the dynamic sort of changed.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, she just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I had my insecurities, I had my fears and doubts. I didn't want it to be like I get into a relationship, then things go south, and then I don't have a best friend anymore. And on top of that, my mom is calling her mom and saying, "Hey, what's going on? My son is depressed." I didn't want that.
Okay, right.
So yeah, the dynamic sort of changed for a couple weeks, a couple months, until I remember the specific day in which we weren't talking to each other, not even on a regular basis. We just sort of went back to zero. And then I remember I was going to volunteering at a animal services like the RSPCA. And then I'm checking my Instagram. Then I saw Cleopatra's Instagram and she's on a date with another dude. Dude who I was playing football with like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
How did you feel?
I felt heartbroken. I felt terrible.
Why did you feel terrible when you pulled out?
Well, I thought, I still did care about her, but I couldn't put it into words that, look, I care about you, but let's take time to build this up and let's take time for you to know me and who I am. Okay. I did expect her to sort of now that I think about it, I don't really know what I expected of her.
Yeah.
Especially when I had pulled back so quickly. But in my mind, this is a girl who had showed interest in me. And then out of nowhere, she doesn't have interest in me anymore.
Okay.
Without telling me why she's mad or if she's mad.
Yeah, there's a good chance you broke her heart within those 20 minutes.
I think so.
Yeah, and possibly that age she was nursing heartache, from a tender age. And then maybe when she had it in her to finally move on, then she got onto this date with this guy you're playing football with.
Mm-hmm.
So how close were you two to the guy who was playing football? Were you guys good mates?
No, he was just a guy.
He was just a guy.
I just knew him. But like, it's not like I knew him.
Yeah. Okay, so you see on the Instagram is on a date, and then what?
So, well, nothing really important happens for the next 2-3 years. Long time.
Whoa.
Basically, she gets into a relationship with this guy. And I meet him like several other times. And while she's doing that, we sort of reconnect, me and Cleopatra. We reconnect and we become like really, really good friends.
So this reconnection, who initiated it?
Her, actually. It was her.
She just sent you a text, or what happened?
So what happened was I ended up having like a football match between schools, my school and the school that she went to. So I'm at the bleachers, right? We're waiting for the opposition team to like sort of come out because it's their school, right? We're in enemy territory. Some of my friends say, "Hey man, we're gonna circle around and try just like have fun whilst we're waiting for them to come in." I'm like, no, because I know this is her school and I'm a bump into her and I don't want that heat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I avoid even like getting off the bleachers. But then as the game starts, I notice her. I see her, I'm like, oh, there's Cleopatra. She's watching. Then she waves at me and I don't wave back. And
why?
the funny thing is,
why did you wave back?
I was heartbroken. I thought she left me dry.
You had no room to be heartbroken though, because you're the one who broke her heart. So why did you feel this way, brother?
I felt like it wasn't fit because I still had feelings for her. And I understand why she would have been heartbroken, but I still had feelings for her. And at that moment in time, there was a lot of things that were going in within my mind. It was a bit mushy, but I still felt like, hey, I still like you, and I wouldn't have. It was inadvertent to hurt you, so
yeah.
So
Okay.
So
interesting. Okay, so you didn't wave back. You didn't wave back, and
I didn't wave back. I didn't wave back. But the funny thing is, I was marking her boyfriend.
Oh. So did you take out all the stress on him?
No, I didn't. No? I didn't. I just thought I held no animosity to her.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was sort of like a relationship, a friendship that was sort of terminated because we had this past history and then it didn't work out. So we move on.
Did the guy that you were marking know about you and her?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
So after that football match, she texted me and she said, "Hey, I saw you." And I was like, and I waved, but you didn't wave back. And I was like, "Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was concentrating on the football match." And then from then on, like sort of the friendship just reconnected and we became like really good, close friends.
Okay. And that felt nice. I guess.
That felt really nice. See, this was a person who was initially really close to my heart before, and then to just have her back in my life and have a really close friend in this alien society, I valued that.
Yeah.
I valued that a lot. So it was good to have somebody back.
Did you get the feeling that she still had emotions for you when she got back?
Well, I don't know. Okay. I don't think so. So then what happened further, the story goes further. And she sort of, in 2015, whilst I'm doing my sixth form years, you got the first year, then you got the second year.
Yeah.
after the first year, she moved back to the UK and had to restart her sixth form year.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But her family stayed in Kuwait.
Okay.
They chose to stay back.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the New Year's Eve of 2016, she's back in the country, right? So she's like, hey, there's a party at my mom's place. Do you want to come or do you not want to come? I was a bit hesitant because I heard like the boyfriend was coming.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, ugh, man, I got to see them kiss.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, I had cemented her as a friend, but then I got to see them kiss.
Yeah.
So I decided, no, I'm just going to go. So me and my family, we packed bags. Then we went over to their party. Nice party, all white. So her sister is also there. Her sister has come from Wakanda and is visiting the country for a little bit. And I sort of found the dynamic between me and the sister weird. It's like I thought the way the sister was acting was really flirtatious when it was just me and her. But then as soon as other people came through,
wow,
it was like...
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
But were the two girls as pretty as each other?
They were. They were really pretty.
So you could easily have been attracted to either one of them because they
No, but you see, I took a look at that and I was like, no, this is Cleopatra's sister. Wouldn't I be some sort of hoe if I'm trying it out with the sister, both sisters?
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, it felt like really weird. And what was weirder was Cleopatra and her boyfriend was like, wow, can't you see like how she's talking to you?
Ooh.
Oh, like they'll bring that up and all. That just felt really, really weird.
Now, would they both bring that up, or it was more the boyfriend was bringing it up than Cleo was?
It was more Cleopatra who was bringing it up.
I wonder if that was a way of trying to say, look, I'm still into you, but I'm not trying to make it obvious. Here, try it with my sister.
I think it was more of hey sis, there's this guy. There's history between the two of us, and my boyfriend is also here. I don't know. Can you like keep him in check so that things can just like roll smoothly? I don't know if that's the cynic with me, but that's the theory that makes the most sense.
Interesting.
Something like within me happened within that like party. I think I was going to the bathroom because like I just couldn't handle just like all the pressure coming from the sister. Then like. If I go to Cleopatra, she's with her boyfriend. And it's at that moment, I felt like, nah, I shouldn't have come to this party. So I went to the bathroom, just took some time out. Then I come out and like Cleopatra's there. And I'm like, oh, hi. And it's like her in front of me in front of her. And you know that thing that happens in the movies where sort of like the filter comes in and the love hearts come in and you're looking straight into her eyes. And I was like, whoa, is this love?
Yes. And then, this is hilarious.
And then I asked like, hey, can I have some water? Because I felt like if I stared into her eyes for like 6 more seconds, I would have kissed her.
Do you know the number of opportunities you had for greatness, but you didn't take them?
I know.
Nuts. Okay, yeah, and
I know it's crazy.
What happened?
It's crazy. And so but that's the highlight of that party. That's when I sort of understood like, whoa, I still have something within me that still gravitates towards Cleopatra, even though we've been friends for so long.
Yeah. So did you guys eventually get into a relationship at some point?
Yeah, at some point. It took like years. It took years. So after I finished school, I sort of come back to Wakanda.
Yeah.
There's a lot of family dramas that are happening within Kuwait. So like I come back to Wakanda and my family settles in Wakanda, but we've been torn apart because Wakanda is like a difficult place to live in.
Yeah.
So like my dad lives in this place supporting the family. My mom lives in this place supporting the family. I'm at the family home in Wakanda. I'm taking care of my brother as well as other family dramas. Yeah. So like it's a lot to place like on an 18-year-old. Yeah. So I sort of came back to that. And as I was looking around for like, okay, so like, how do I sort of how do I reset and then like find myself in this country? I found that difficult to do.
Yeah.
The first like year or so.
Yeah, understandable.
And I think I fell into like a really deep and dark like place within myself. Just like, the pressures of social media, you see a lot of things happening within so many people's lives. Then you take a look at yours and you're like, gosh, like where did it all go wrong?
Yeah.
And that's a stage that I started to go through by myself. And as I was looking for like a support system, up pops like Cleopatra. She's there. She's like, she's available. She's reachable. If anything wrong happens, like she's one of the first people who I'll be like, hey, I'm feeling like horrid.
Which country was she in at this time?
She was in the UK.
Okay.
She was in the UK. Yeah, and then what would happen was like we became really, really close friends. Our friendship just sort of cemented to the point where before, when we were kids, we would sort of talk about trivial things, like things that don't really matter, until when we were adults. Like I found a place within me in which, like, you remember how I couldn't communicate to her about sort of my insecurities. I found a place within me so that I could tell her, like, look, I feel really bad about myself, and I feel really bad about how we ended when we were kids. I feel like I dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I told her that.
And what was the response to that?
No, she was like, nah, you did drop the ball because I really did like you.
This was an opportunity for you to find out if she still liked you. Did you take that up?
I didn't take that up because I found it quite weird for me to say, to ponder on those questions, especially when there was such distance between the two of us. I thought, man, it's just like not worth it. Until 2019, last year, she announces to me, hey, I'm going to be visiting Wakanda for a while. And I'm like, whoa, this is great. This is amazing. This is fantastic. But I kept on questioning her, like, are you really coming? Because I just didn't know what to believe.
Yeah.
So in 2019, that was also like a really like traumatic year for me. I lost somebody very close to my family. And I had a couple run-ins with the law. So like I really got like depressed.
Yeah.
I got like very depressed and I didn't care for myself. I didn't keep myself properly. I think I took some, like I went down a path in which I started taking drugs and abusing alcohol. And like it was like a really dark path. So around April, like Cleopatra sends me like this really funny like video of her like dancing to one of my songs. And like something within me was just like, damn, this girl like really, it made my entire week.
Yeah, she gets you.
And
that's when really gets you.
She gets me. She's part of me.
Yeah.
And so like, that's when I decided, look, okay, we're going to clean it. We're going to clean ourselves up so that when she comes and sees you, she's not going to be heartbroken that this is what you're like.
Yeah.
So like, I started to do that. I like, I don't know. I don't remember what the word is, but I went clean for like months and I started to go to the gym and I just started to take like myself more seriously.
Yeah.
Until she's in the country and I'm like, okay, let's go and see her. And she arranges for me to come to her dad's surprise birthday party. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring my cousin and my brother. So it would be like a family event.
Yeah.
So like we roll through and like, I don't see her at first, but I see her brother. And I'm like, hey, where's Cleopatra? Then he's like, Cleopatra's at the back. And then I'm like, you know what would be cool is if like I announce myself, like I'm here, I tell her brother, then I leave and buy drinks. So that when I come back, she will be asking like, where's he? And then, like, then I'll pop up and then it'll be like extra dramatic. And she'll be like, there he is. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it was a flawed thing because when she did finally see me, she was like in the thick of like the event. Everything was chaotic.
Yeah.
And she saw me, she was like, oh my, Nda, how are you? Then she gave me a quick church hug, and then went back to her thing. I was like, okay.
What's a church hug?
You know, when you come in from the side.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, one of those. Okay.
So but you know what? When I was at that party, she treated me like how I wish she would have treated me like at the New Year's Eve party. Like I was her center of attention, and to everybody who was around, she was like, "Hey, this is my friend Nda," and then everyone would be like, "Okay, hi Nda," and then they'll be like, "From Kuwait." Then everyone would be like, "Oh, from Kuwait."
Yeah. She'd really throw in all the background information to say, "Look, we come from far."
We come from far, and then like I would feel as if she's like introducing me to her family as, "This is the guy, guys. This is Hazi." I felt that within me, like, whoa, damn. And yeah, I was introduced to a lot of people within her family, and it felt really intimate and special. And then as she was talking to my cousin, like we were just discussing that, and they talked about me in the third person as if I wasn't standing like right next to them. And I could hear what she was saying about me, and I was like, damn, this girl is like, she gets me, she sees me, and she's like sad that like sometimes I'm depressed, sometimes like relationships that I've had in the past didn't work out. And she's like, and I started to feel that. And then as I driving back home with my cousin, I'm like, dude, that's the love of my life.
Wow.
I'm looking at her like, that's the love of my life.
That's deep, man.
So then I mean, yeah, because no one has ever like treated me with such care.
Yeah.
No one has ever looked at me and said like, Nda is a person who I care for, and like I really want to see him happy.
Yeah.
So I started to feel something within me. So I made a plan. I was like, we're gonna go out to my favorite place to eat, and then I'm gonna tell her what I'm feeling within my heart. But the plan just wasn't happening. I think what happens is when you come back home, especially when you've been in the diaspora for a bit, everyone wants a piece of you.
Okay.
And so it's quite difficult for you to have free time for yourself.
Yeah,
and I understood that.
So pretty much,
I understood.
It was impossible for Cleo to get time just to sit down with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she communicated that to me like really clearly, like, sorry, I can't find time.
Yeah.
And then like when she said that, I was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna say it anyway. So I typed her up a quick thing, then I sent it. Then I went to sleep. I was like, look, if it comes back awkward, whatever, but you said it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
You're like, at least it's off your chest. Yeah.
At least it's off my chest. So I sent it, and then I wake up the next day and like she's smitten. She's smitten.
She's giving you the same response she gave you when she was younger.
She's giving me the very same love, the very same attention.
Yeah.
And what's funny now is, so she's like, "Can I see you? Can we make room?"
Oh, so now like, she has time, huh?
So now she has time.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about that. I was like, no, it's fine. It's cool. And I made an effort, and but we didn't end up like meeting. Like there just really wasn't any time.
Yeah.
Even though she was trying.
Yeah.
So I guess what I then entered to that phase of us was sort of the very same dynamic we had as kids, but now we were adults.
Yeah.
But now it was like overseas. She wasn't in Kuwait. She wasn't like a stone throw away.
Yeah.
She was all the way like continents away.
And this time you didn't pull out, did you?
I didn't. I was like, nah, you know what? I've known you for a really long time. I vibe with you and I have these feelings from you, and you have the same feelings from me. So, you know what? Let's just one FaceTime at a time. Just go with it slowly but surely.
So you guys were now officially boyfriend and girlfriend?
No. I think it was now a situationship.
Okay.
That it like I think you would call that a situation. It's like it's a mutual romantic relationship, but you haven't defined it. You haven't set the boundaries.
And it was long distance as well.
And it was long distance as well.
So you guys
there's a lot of things.
So you guys are pretty much just going with the flow, isn't it?
Pretty much. I actually made that assertion. Like, look, this is complicated, but let's just go with the flow.
So going with the flow, does that mean if you met someone in Wakanda that you fancied, you could go ahead with her, or you were now exclusive with Cleo?
No, we had even discussed. See, like we had made so many discussions about what our values were
Yeah.
in a relationship, that I sort of knew what would happen when something would pop up. So if I met somebody and I was like, let me try this out, Cleo would understand. And she said, look, I would understand if you would do that.
Okay.
And similarly, I said, look, if you meet somebody there and it's cool, I would understand as well.
Okay. So yeah. So it
So
was
we're not,
so it was a genuine go with the flow scenario.
yeah, we're not holding each other back. We're just gonna go with the flow. But I think there was both consideration for us as for our feelings. Like if that would happen, if somebody else, if a third party would pop up, we'll let each other know and then sort of be like, okay, cool, go live your best life.
So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit and actually ask at what point you guys became boyfriend and girlfriend.
We never did.
Oh, you never did.
We never did.
Okay. And why didn't you guys ever become boyfriend and girlfriend when you knew you had feelings for each other?
I think what ended up happening is you talk a lot about your values with the person that you love, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of expect a certain behavior from them. So whether it's you expect them to understand you, to get you, you expect that. If you expect pure, clear communication, you expect that. So one day, let me start by one night. We were talking about future plans, as in what career progression plans we had for each other.
Yeah.
I laid down mine, and she was a bit insecure about hers. She was like, look, I want to do so many things, but I don't know where to start. So then I pressed her on the issue, and she was like, look, I have passion for like planning events and stuff. So I was like, yeah, do an events management course and go ahead with it. Then she was like, cool. We went to sleep. Goodbye. I love you. I love you. It's cool.
Hold up a sec. Before we go too far, we're going to come back to the events planning thing. You said, I love you to her.
Yeah.
And she said, I love you back to you.
Yes.
In a go with the flow situation.
No. Okay. I had confessed that I love her like immediate after I sent her the long ass text initially, while she was still in the country. And then it took a while, but she would sort of communicate that she is falling in love with me, but she doesn't, I don't know, she wasn't sure of her own emotions. And for a really like long time, I didn't want to make her feel pressure to say, I love you back. And a lot of things that I would hear from her was sort of like, I don't know, it didn't make me confident that she would fall in love with me. So I think one night, sorry, I'm taking you far back. One night she's saying all this lovely stuff about me.
Yeah.
And it feels like she's just gonna say it on a whim. And I'm like, hey, look, I don't want you to love me because I'm sort of this utopia person that you've made up in your mind, but I want you to love me because I am the person who I am. Like you love me, not what I make you feel. And then she took that badly. She was like, oh, she's like, she just was like taken aback by that.
Yeah.
And the next morning she said, look, I feel like you want me to say something back to you, but you need to trust me, which wasn't what I was trying to do at all. I just wanted to make sure that if she was going to say it, she meant it.
I guess she eventually did say it, didn't she?
She did, but it was off the whim. She was on a night out and then she just like sort of quickly said, I love you. And then I was like, okay.
Well, what I find interesting and why I asked that question is you guys are going with the flow. Going with the flow and I love you. I don't know. For me, they just don't seem to fit in the same line. So were you denying yourself what you really wanted with this woman? Because if in the first text you told her, I love you, why didn't you just lock it down and say, look, I want to be your guy, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend, and skip the whole go with the flow thing? Because I love you and go with the flow do not mix. It just feels like you're setting yourself up for disaster.
That's an interesting.
Because if you're going with the flow, and yet you love someone, if they do decide to see someone and tell you, you're just gonna break because you're in too deep.
I guess so. That's I guess that's where my first lesson that I learned was that I shouldn't have settled for the sort of go with the flow.
Yeah.
Because I had known a couple of things about her in her previous relationships. Sometimes they were long distance. So then I took that into consideration and I was like, look, I don't want to put this girl through the same trauma.
Yeah.
So let's just push aside what I want and let's just make this as comfortable for her. Because she has a bias against sort of long distance relationships. Let's not call this a proper relationship and let's just go with the flow.
So you're pretty much looking out for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, which is a loving thing to do because you're putting her first and putting yourself last.
I also considered that she probably, she was a very high achieving person. So I considered that, look, if I was to put the stresses and the requirements of a long distance relationship on her, then that could be detrimental to the things that she's working on. So whilst I want the love, whilst I want the infatuation and the intimacy, I don't want to put her through those responsibilities. And so let's just go with the flow.
Very interesting.
That seemed but eventually she did say, look, I love you. She said it multiple times, not just on a drunk night out. She returned to Kuwait and told her mom that, look, I sort of feel funda. And the mom was like, damn, Nda is in Wakanda though.
Yeah.
Her mom didn't give approval, nor did she dismiss it, but she was like, he's in Wakanda though. And that she didn't want to see a repeat of previous relationships.
Your heart got broken at some point, which is why we are talking on this podcast. What happened?
Once I told her about the events management course, she texts me the next day and says, I'm going to take a course in events management. For me, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't expect such a quick turnover. From last night, she's down to this night to today, she's going to conquer the world. And what I told her was okay, so what about everything else that you're going to do? Because she, I said, she was very high achieving and doing a lot of things. So I was like, taking from my experience, I can get caught up in a lot of things and not finish something. Yeah. So I was like, what are you going to do? And she didn't take that. She didn't take that well, Tinto. She was really depressed by that. For some reason, I don't understand till this day why she was depressed by that. But she told me that saying that feels like I'm questioning her judgment and her ability. And it makes her feel like how she's felt in other relationships before, relationships that I don't know about. So I'm like, what happened in other relationships before? And she's like, I don't have to tell you that for you to understand how I feel. And so that sort of started a really quick descent into a dynamic that was sort of rough, that was sort of disconnected and uninterested. I would see a change in how she talked to me, either via text or even via voice call. There just wasn't that same lovingness or intimacy within her anymore. And this happened for weeks. This happened for weeks until I asked her, why are you distancing yourself from me? And she told me, look, don't take it too seriously, but it's because of what you said.
Yeah.
And so I considered that. And I was like, went over to my mates. I was like, look, this is what the girl is saying. What should I do? And then my mates was like, oh, she's balmy, mate. Just give her some, give her some space.
Yeah.
And so I came back and I said, do you want some space from the issue? And she was like, yeah. And then that was the end of the conversation.
And that was the end of you guys?
No.
Okay.
So then what I took from that was just don't talk about me acting weird for a while. Just act normal. And so I tried to act normal, but until the decline was still happening for weeks and weeks. It was happening until like I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, look, you have to tell me what's happening. You have to tell me why you're disinterested. And the chick was, she acted like I was crazy. She acted like she was just not seeing my messages anymore and not responding. She acted as if I was blowing it out of proportion. And she said, we'll talk about this soon. And we wouldn't talk about it soon until I came back and I said, look, you have to talk to me.
Yeah.
And then she said, yeah, look, tomorrow, now 7 p.m., we'll talk about this. 7 p.m. comes, 7 p.m. comes, the conversation is weird, it's awkward, and she's acting as if she hasn't got anything to say to me. And then that's when she says, look, I've been seeing a lot of hostility from you, and it feels like judgment. And I think that is a sign that we should reflect. And she was talking a lot of really confusing things about how maybe I'm projecting some of the frustrations that I'm having within my family and the situation of living in Wakanda and bringing it out in a form of hostility towards her. And I took a look at that and I was like, no, I'm not. Because that's not the person that I am. I don't judge people based off what they want to go for in life. So I don't expect that to have seen those whatever behavior that's within me. But if she did see that, I expected her to talk to me, to open up to me and say, look, instance number 1, instance number 2, instance number 3, you did this. And then it made me feel like this. And I feel horrible. That's why I'm acting in this sort of way. And then maybe we would have this discussion. But what ended up happening is I just said, look, that's not right. I'm not doing that. And then she was like, look, bye. And she put the phone down and went to sleep. Yeah. And it was heartbreaking for me because that's not a dynamic that I had come to be accustomed or had ever like expected of her to show towards me, because we'd even talked about settling things the night that they occur.
Yeah.
So
course,
the fact that I had to wait, I had to wait for weeks, to even get like any hint as to what is within her heart. And then when I heard what's in her heart, it sounds like false assumptions and misrushed conclusions. And so I did act defensive because it just doesn't sound like me.
So is this where your lesson about don't get caught up in the past and let things go comes in?
I think because the don't get caught up in the past is for me to just have accepted that this is a person that I had feelings for.
I see.
But it was then going to be difficult for me to get a tangible relationship from her. So I should just move on.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It almost sounds like it's a lesson that applies to both. So one, acceptance for you that she's not the same person who you grew up with. And for her, on the other end, her behaving this way, I don't know, it feels a bit strange. It's almost as if she categorized you to be the same as any other guy she's been with. She couldn't take you as Nda in your own capacity as Nda, because whatever it is you did and said triggered something that she didn't like, and it might be something she experienced in the past, and she was bringing that into your relationship. So the lesson goes two ways, in that she should have left whatever happened in the past, because it didn't mean you were going to do the same thing to her.
Yeah, I did try and communicate that to her multiple times, but she blew that off and said, look, I'm only comparing you to you, which made me even more confused because it seemed like she wasn't.
Yeah. So
like my search for answers, like and my level of confusion was just like elevated until whilst I didn't understand like what she wanted from me, I decided to like go get answers for myself.
Yeah.
So I ended up contacting like a friend of hers, like this friend of hers, she knows of me. She's known of me since like we were kids. So then I contacted her and I was like, look, I don't understand what's going on between me and Cleopatra. Help me out. What am I not getting? And it takes like a couple of days until the friend is like, look, that's not for me to comment on. But just consider her. But just consider her in whatever decision you make. Either read the messages or ask her, but please consider her. And so I considered her. And before I made any action, I just needed to know if I could milk out a conversation from her.
Yeah.
So it was Valentine's, and I sent her a letter. And like she had talked about letters as something that she wants to do all the time, that she wished somebody had sent her a letter. So I sent her a letter. And in this letter, I poured my heart out. I was like Usher pounding the ground in the rain. I was just like, baby, please come.
Yeah.
You know? And I chronicled everything that I'm empathetic to the fact that it's difficult for her to trust me with all the traumas, but I would hope that we would have a conversation soon and we would come back to intimacy soon. And then, like, I had problems sending the letter to her. It was supposed to be a surprise. Like, she opens her door and then she's, here's a letter. But she wasn't at home. So I just had to fess up to her and be like, hey, I sent you a letter. And then she's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. And I was like, what? And she's like, you should not have done that. So then I just left it.
You didn't ask why?
I didn't ask why.
Why?
Because a couple weeks back, I had sort of blew up to her like, why is the dynamic so different? And she didn't take that kindly. She was out with her mates, and then she was like, it's really disrespectful that you be talking, you're addressing me in this manner, when if you want clarity, you should read the messages up. And then she said, because of this, I think we should remain as friends.
Wow.
Because of the entitlement, because I'm entitled, because I feel entitled to the intimacy and I don't understand why things are the way that they are, that that we should stay as friends. And so I was like, no, don't do that to me. But I don't know.
And that was it.
That's what she said to me. Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
You guys seem to be on this cliffhanger thing for
I know.
Back and forth for a while.
Yes, it was a good month of sort of cliffhanger in which I just wanted to get over with it. Like, I just wanted her to say, look, this is over. I just can't deal with this.
You could have done the same though. You could have done the same because it was messing with you too.
It was, yes. I would go to work with a lump in my throat, just thinking about the dynamic between the two of us. And I felt like I shouldn't give up on her because she's my friend. And she had confided in me in the past about how previously people had given up on her, and she just wished like she would find love and yada, yada, yada. So I was like, nah, we're gonna come out of this and we'll be like stronger.
So you didn't want to be that guy. You didn't want to become a statistic.
I did not want to become a statistic. Yeah. I didn't want to be like the guy that she went on and on about to her current boyfriend. I didn't want to be that ex, that guy who abandoned her. So I was giving her the benefit of the doubt.
So do you guys talk now?
No, because what happened is, of course, coronavirus hit, and things went really sort of downhill between the two of us.
Yeah.
After I sent her the Valentine's letter, and she told me like I shouldn't have done that, I kept quiet for a couple of days, and then a friend of mine from Kuwait died. So this just happened to coincide in the day which we sort of reconnected. The day that me and Dark reconnected is the day that my friend died. And so she sort of noticed that I was off, and she asked me, what is up with you? So at first I wanted to say like, I don't feel comfortable that you just blew off my letter.
Yeah.
And then, but I said, like, look, my friend died and I feel guilty about it because I didn't know that he had cancer. Then she's like, oh, it's not your fault. It's like really blunt. It's not the person that I've grown to know. It's like a friend of mine has died and it's sort of this emotionless, just passive, it's not your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I'm in mourning.
Yeah.
So I take that. Then I ask her, like, what did you mean by by I shouldn't send you the letter? And she's like, well, if it was a hassle for you, don't send it. Which, I don't know. It just didn't fit within how I described myself. I described myself as somebody who was going to try hard to be loving, to be a romantic person. So even if it was a hassle, I would still do it. But these were signs that should have just told me to leave it. But I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be that guy. The guy who like weathered the storm and then comes out with the rainbow on top of him. But then what ended up happening is like, I did break down to her like the next day and said like, I want to know what is up with you. But if I don't, but if what is up with you is that you don't want this anymore, it's cool. Just don't leave me hanging for another 6 years. Like when we were kids. Just don't do that.
You know, just let me know now.
Just let me know now. And then like she gaslights me and says, you think this has been easy for me too? And then and then she mentions, all I want is space. All I want is space from this, and you're not giving me this, which makes me feel worse, which confuses me even more because we had never had a conversation about space and what it should entail and when it would end and what we would do after the end of space.
She did kind of talk about space though, because remember you spoke to your friend about this and he said, look, she needs space. And then you said to her, shall I give you space from asking you, questions around what's up? And she's like, yeah, give me that space. So she had told you she wanted some space.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. But even as I acted normally, like even as I just was being the normal me, like it didn't feel as if like not asking the questions was making the relationship better.
Okay.
It's like
you're caught between a rock and a hard place, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm like, damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yeah.
So like, I couldn't keep on acting normally, and then she just springs up so many things on me that like she hadn't told me before. She's like, I can't eat. She hadn't told me that she can't eat. She said, I can't sleep. She didn't tell me that. She said, I'm super depressed about this. She never told me that. That's the first time I'm hearing about this. So I'm asking her, so I'm like, look, I just don't understand what's up with you anymore. But if you require space, because I don't believe in this notion of space, just not talking to each other, which I can see that's what she's alluding to now. Just not talking to each other. I don't believe in that because like, I think in that moment, you will overthink and you will misassume things and a lot of confirmation bias can then cloud your judgment. If you give yourself space like that just space to go out and like capture the world and forget about the issues. So I'm like, I say something dumb. I'm like, dude, if you want that kind of space, just block me. Just block me and just let me go.
So who closed it off in the end? Was it you or she did?
She eventually did. After that conversation, in which she didn't clear things up, she cleared nothing up for me. I was still the same confused mess. I was still going into work like just worried and anxious, and I started to go crazy. I'd start to blow up her phone up until she told me like, look, stop this. Otherwise I will block you and you'll never hear from me ever again. And so I was like, look, yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna stop this. And if I show you that you can't trust me, then khalas, we finish it. And yeah, for like 3 weeks, I don't talk to her. I don't text her. I don't do anything to her until like coronavirus starts to hit, right? And then the lover in me is like, how's my Juliet? How's Cleopatra? Is she dead? What's happening to her? There's a lot of stories that I'm hearing. And so I hit her up and she's like, she doesn't answer, but she also doesn't block me. And then I'm still in the anxious mess that I am in. I decide, look, I'm going to search for answers. And I start to contact her sister who lives in Wakanda, the same sister that was at the New Year's Eve party.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm about to ask her, like, what's up? I'm about to invite her to come to my uni so that she can watch me play basketball. And then I can ask her, what's up? Cleopatra texts me and she says, oh, I'm well and good. How are you? And I'm thinking, okay, this might be my opening to discuss things with her. But she was really corporate. I could tell she was just saying it just because. And as I kept on, I probed a little bit, like, why are you so corporate? She's just like, we just don't talk to each other every day. And yeah, and that's when I sort of started to deep it, like, oh, this person is gone.
Yeah.
This person as I knew her is gone. And so I sort of left it. It was cool. And then a couple of days, maybe a week later, I'm just asking her, just out of friendly curiosity, how things are at work. And she answers that it's a bit difficult. There's no gray area in terms of when we're supposed to be working and when we're not supposed to be working. And then that's when she tells me, then I probe a little bit more for answers, and she blue ticks me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then the next morning, then I'm like, oh, okay, you've seen this message. And then she blue ticks that. Then I check my phone, like maybe a couple hours later, and she's blocked me. And I check all my other socials, and she's blocked me as well on all the other socials. And so I am now emotional. I'm now an emotional mess.
Of course,
and in that moment, I have a mental breakdown. I literally like get very desperate, and like, it wasn't pretty. I call her sister and ask her what's going on. And the first thing the sister says when I call her is, were you even in a relationship? And that's when I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
And then I ask more questions, and she's like, first of all, talking to her friend. Second of all, blowing up her phone just shows that like you weren't caring for her. And in that moment, I'm almost at tears. I'm really emotional, and I'm asking her sister, like, look, just talk to her, and when she gets the space, when she gets distance from everything, just tell her to hit me up. And the sister she didn't promise me anything to me.
Yeah.
She was just like, yeah, maybe not. And that was the last I heard from her. That was the last I heard from anyone in her family.
Jeez, man. You know that whole go with the flow thing? It feels to me that's where the whole thing went south. If there was a bit more definition to what you guys were, you may have had a chance of something more solid happening. But if even her own sister was asking you, were you guys even in a relationship, then it could have only gone one way, brother.
I don't know. I don't know, because it's not something that I sort of forced upon her. It's something that just popped up, and as an option, we took that. She didn't object to it.
Yeah.
I didn't object to it as well, because I knew what she needed and what she didn't need.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was the best way to go. And even in all my good intentions, it feels like at the end of the day, it wasn't worth sort of rehashing the past. It wasn't worth it. At that moment in which I felt something for her, in which I was looking at her in the party, I should have just slapped myself and then just told myself that it was a past event and it was a long time ago. But that's, I guess, where my lesson was.
Yeah. Well, this has been very interesting, Da. Thank you for sharing the story. My important question for you now is, given that lockdown only really started around March for most people, how are you now with the situation? Have you cleared things up in your own head? Are you feeling okay? Are you ready to meet someone else?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. I ended up the first few months were very difficult for me to sort of come to grips with what had happened. But eventually, as I sort of just started to redefine like what I needed to see in people and what I didn't need to see in people, I just sort of like coming to accepting that I might never get answers for why things went the way they went.
Yeah.
I even like, you know, because we all got like burner accounts and everything. I even like reached out one day and said like, look, I'm very comfortable like knowing that things have gone south and that I might never be able to recoup what we used to be. But this is your opportunity to open up to me. And yeah, she blocked me again. So
Yeah, no, you just have to let it go, bro.
yeah.
You know, let's take it to your very first lesson. You know, don't get caught up in the past and let things go. This is one of those things that you really now just need to let go.
Yeah, no, surely it is. I guess I'm sort of reneging on that lesson by bringing it up to the podcast, but that is a lesson that I'm slowly and surely just like coming to grips with. But it's sort of difficult, especially when somebody promises you the world, somebody assures you that they're listening to you and that they know you. For then them to miscategorize you and misunderstand you and just sort of paint you with this devilish paintbrush. It's sort of difficult to understand like how somebody you trusted so much with your deepest secrets can then turn around and then sort of cast you the enemy. And so that's
something. Words are very powerful in that if you had the option of being slapped on the face, you'd feel the pain right there and then, but then it would go away because it's physical pain. But because this is emotional pain that's been induced by somebody's words, they're gonna hover around in your mind for some time before you get to grips with the fact that okay, this is done and this is not coming back. And I guess. And I guess just going back to your lessons, your second one was that communication is really important. The communication in the situation you described didn't sound like it was two-way. It was one way at one point in her direction and one way in your direction, at another point. So that does make a lot of sense. And I think the most important out of all of these is the last one you mentioned, which was love yourself. If you were to rate how much you love yourself now, where would you stand if it's on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 being, ooh, I hate myself, and 5, I absolutely love myself. Where are you today?
I'm on a 6. I'm on a 6.
Ah, wicked. That is very good to hear because that will allow you to enforce point number 1 the most. About not getting caught up in the past.
Sure, it sure does. I think also because we're two different people from two different backgrounds and in two different stages in their lives, communication was really important because her saying, like, at times people sort of fall out because they speak at a person, not to them. So she might have been saying things to me. She might be saying things at me that she feels like are super clear and just clear out all the issues. But me having like what I understand in a relationship and with space and within intimacy, I don't understand that. And so in that instance, if she pursued the way that I maybe went forward and just pushed the issue to communicate what I thought was clear, maybe just drove the conflict further home. That's what my lesson on communication is, I guess, is that whilst you can say like a lot of things, you can speak a lot of words to somebody, if you're not speaking to their heart and saying things that they understand, they will never like be able to empathize with you and what you're trying to put forth. So that's my lesson with communication.
Well, Yeah, well, thank you, Nda. I mean, I really appreciate you taking time to share this rather interesting story. You know, that comes from your childhood and goes into your adult life. For those who've listened to it, just a summary of the 3 top lessons. 1, don't get caught up in the past. Learn to let it go. Second lesson, communication is very important. And last of all, love yourself. And it's a good thing that Nda in the story has rated himself a 6 out of 5. You've been listening to another Feeling Station podcast. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you in next week's episode. Peace.
Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sati's Ndaro Raini and Chagezai.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Sati's Ndaro Raini and Chagezai.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.
Kujidziru amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.